There's about 3 messages in this, and I think whoever put the lectionary together was trying to... They weren't quite long enough to make it into a reading itself, so they just had to mash 3 of Jesus' sayings together. Anyway, he has the famous quote about a millstone. He talks about forgiving your brother. He talks about mustard seed and faith. There's a lot of different directions we could go, but since it's the memorial of Saint JosephOTT, Josaphat. I grew up saying Josaphat, and then I was sternly corrected by someone who went to a parish in Chicago. They pronounce it Saint JosephOTT. So that's what we're going to say from now on. Tomato, tomato. Karaoke. Who knows? JosephOTT, Josaphat. Anyway, sorry. So JosephOTT was, I think, in Ukraine. And from a very young age, he felt this spark come from the side of Christ into his heart, because he grew up Greek Orthodox, which they are not in line with the Pope and not in line with the Roman Catholic Church, just a little bit off because of a schism a long time ago. Anyway, so he grew up learning about the Catholic faith and finally converting and I think becoming a priest, and he really wanted to make unity happen among the people in his diocese, the people who ruled over those people, and then Rome itself. So he worked very hard and lovingly, not only serving his people, saying Mass for them and praying for them, but also working politically and economically to try to make some union, because it wasn't just the church at that time, it was also very entwined in the government. There's a lot of people who didn't like what this troublemaker was doing because he was disrupting their way of life. And so, as their plots grew and his fame and struggle to unite the church grew, they planned one day when the cathedral bells rang one morning to go attack him while he was praying. An angry mob came and brutally murdered him in the street, and they celebrated his death. And that was the end of JosephOTT. Very nice, huh? Sounds familiar a little bit, because the same way Jesus spent his life praying, working, and healing, and disrupting the lives of those who had social and economic and governmental order, the Pharisees, the Romans, everyone who put him to death. But what's different about these 2 men and what's different about us as Christians is that, yes, we're going to disrupt the worldly order of things. And yes, we're probably going to be persecuted, either by people actually hating us or by our own, good works conflicting with our inner sins. But the thing that we do is we forgive. Over 7 times, Jesus tells us, be on your guard. If your brother sins, rebuke him. But if he repents, forgive him. If he wrongs you 7 times in one day, you should forgive him. Josaphat was beaten more than 7 times, and Jesus was beaten, whipped, nailed. It hurt more than 7 times. And yet both these men, because of their saintly attitude and disposition, forgave those who killed them. And now their blood, JosephOTT's blood and sacrifice, runs with Christ's blood, who continues to feed us and help us in our daily life and continue to disrupt the order of the world. And so we are invited in this celebration of this Eucharist this morning to join our own struggles. Maybe we're not going to be brutally murdered in the street like these men were, but our daily struggle of struggling against sin and struggling against the order of the world, we bleed a little bit every day, and we are invited to join that with Christ and with Josaphat and forgive those who wrong us. So as we go to this Eucharist together, let's keep that in mind, that JosephOTT is praying for us, and we are uniting our struggles to Jesus, the forgiver. Amen.